The Portuguese Empire was once one of the largest and most influential empires in world history. At its peak in the 16th century, Portugal had colonies and outposts across South America, Africa, and Asia that it had established through pioneering explorations and naval technology. Today, Portuguese is still widely spoken globally with over 250 million native speakers. This includes nations that were former colonies of the Portuguese Empire. In this video, we will explore what a modern-day reunified Portuguese-speaking superstate would look like, covering the territory, demographics, economics, military power, and geopolitics of this hypothetical new global power. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get started. A new state of Portuguese speakers would span 4 continents. It would include Portugal and its autonomous regions in Europe, Brazil and South America, and former African colonies like Mozambique, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, Sao Tome and Principe, as well as East Timor in Asia. Portugal established colonies and trade outposts in Brazil starting in the 1500s. The African territories were colonized by Portugal starting in the 1400s. This new country could include the former colonies of Goa in India as well as Macau in China, which were Portuguese until the late 20th century, but they do not have a substantial amount of native speakers for the purpose of this video, so I will not include them. In total, this vast superstate would cover approximately 10.6 million kilometers squared or 4.1 million square miles, making it the second largest country in the world by land, falling only behind Russia. The empire would have an enormous coastline and control over critical maritime trade routes, which, if supported by a good navy, the new state would be one of the top, if not the top naval power in the world as it once was in the 16th century. When it comes to the population, it would comprise over 270 million people. This diverse population would be divided between white Europeans, black Africans, indigenous peoples, and mixed-race Brazilians. Portuguese would be the dominant language spoken natively by over 240 million people, although there are other native languages still spoken to this day, not to mention the variants and creoles of Portuguese itself, for example, Brazilian Portuguese as opposed to European Portuguese. Economically, it would be a major global power. Brazil alone has a GDP of 1.8 trillion before 2020, while tiny Portugal punches way above its weight with a $240 billion GDP. Angola and Mozambique are resource-rich and have rapidly growing economies. Combined, this new state could have an economic output on par with modern powers like Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Abundant natural resources, manufacturing capacity, and control over the Atlantic trade routes ensure this country's prosperity. When it comes to the military, the new state would field imposing armed forces. Brazil has the most powerful military in South America with over 350,000 troops, while Angola and Portugal have small but robust forces. And the state could marshal its natural resources to further enhance its security. With NATO ties, possible nuclear weapons, and 3 million in reserves, this state would have the 5th largest military globally, and it would exert tremendous influence over the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. On a global stage, a new state of this size would dramatically change the international power dynamics we have today. With its strategic territories, resources, and trade route control, the state would be a counterweight against the United States in the Americas and Chinese influence in Africa. Why would it counter the United States while most of its members are US allies? Well, that's because of Brazil's membership in the BRICS, an organization that mainly involves non-USA allies like Russia and China. South Africa is also in BRICS, giving the new state a land corridor with another BRICS member. There will likely be new alliances formed between former enemies and new rivalries created between former allies. Overall, this new Portuguese-speaking state would have a significant sway over both Europe and South America. And through the strengthening of BRICS, it would control a huge influence globally. What do you think? Is this a good idea? Let me know in the comments. If you want to know why Switzerland isn't afraid of World War III, check out this video.